The lost tribes of Israel, are they just a myth or do they really exist? If they are real, who are they? Where are they? And how did they get there? In fact, they are real and they directly connect to Bible prophecy being fulfilled before our very eyes today. My co-host Ezra Benjamin and I are going to answer these questions, and then later in the program we'll be visiting our Lost Tribes Discovery Center, where we're actually identifying and establishing contact with remote Jewish communities around the world. I'm talking about communities that claim to be descendants of the children of Israel. And Ezra, we're talking about this more and more on the program because this is Bible prophecy front and center.
That's right.
When people talk about Bible prophecy, it's usually talking about the Antichrist and Armageddon and 666, and themes that are all connected with last days prophecy or end time prophecy, but we don't talk enough about things that are repeated over and over again in Scripture that directly connect to the last days.
You're right, Jonathan, and there's dozens, maybe hundreds, if we count each one, of prophecies about this idea of God regathering the outcasts of Israel, the exiles of Israel, the scattered of the house of Israel, who He scattered to the ends of the earth. And I think the problem is when we don't understand something at first glance, our tendency is to spiritualize it or say, well, that's symbolic and God really means something else and not think about it. But Jonathan, we're faced with the reality, and we're getting contact every month, it seems, from different groups around the world who are saying, we know that we are historically from Israel, from the Jewish people, and what if these prophecies are actually true and the specific places and people God's talking about still exist today?
Well, they're so clear. They're so clear in prophecy, but they're overlooked far too often. Often by believers, by Christians. Isaiah 11:11. We talk about it all the time here on Jewish Voice,
central.
But I don't hear it talked about in many churches. Directly connected to the last days that will come about in that day, by Yom HaHu. In Hebrew, that's end time language. By Yom HaHu, in that day. What day? The day preceding the coming of the Lord, or the return of the Lord.
Wow.
In that day, the root of Jesse will stand as a banner for the peoples. The nations will seek him. His resting place will be glorious.
Right.
Of course, that's the revelation of the church, the glorious place of rest in the Messiah of Israel. But verse 11, it will also come about when, in that day, by Yom HaHu, that my Lord will again redeem a second time with his hand the remnant of his people who remain. And then it mentions these countries. It's talking about the regathering of the people or children of Israel. Assyria, from Egypt, from Pathros, from Cush. I'm going to highlight that one. Elam, Shinar, Hamath, the islands of the sea. Specifically mentioning places like Cush.
Right.
Where's Cush?
It's Ethiopia.
Exactly.
It's Sheba. It's that ancient kingdom down the East African seaboard. And not just Ethiopia, Jonathan, but so many of the names there, we don't know them because we don't know what the modern place name is, so we sort of gloss over the scripture. But if you actually map out where each of those places are, it's Yemen. We know that the Yemenite Jews have returned to Israel. It's the Ethiopian Jews who have returned to Israel. It's Central Asia, communities from Iran and Iraq, Jewish communities that have returned to Israel.
Exactly. Why isn't this talked about in connection with last days prophecy. Why? It should be because it's there repeatedly. What happens before Jesus returns? The blindness comes off of the eyes of the Jewish people.
That's right.
What happens before Jesus returns? The land of Israel, the land belonging to the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is restored in a day, literally.
Yeah.
What happens before the Messiah returns or comes, according to the Jewish people? The restoration of Jerusalem as the capital of the Jewish people. What happens before Jesus returns? There has to be a visible community of Jewish people that cry out, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." Not talked about enough.
And that's why it's important to you watching at home. What does the regathering of the outcasts of Israel have to do with me as a Christian, with my faith, with the return of Jesus? It's right there in black and white
And
in the
specifically
Scriptures.
the lost tribes here. The outcasts of Israel that according to Deuteronomy 28 have been scattered to the uttermost parts of the world are going to be restored.
That's right.
Where are we talking about? We're talking about India, the remote parts of India. We have been working with Jewish people called the B'nai Menashe, the community that relate to descendants of Menashe, one of the lost 10 tribes, on the border with the Burmese mountains, on the border with Myanmar. We're working with Jews that are in remote parts of Zimbabwe and Ethiopia. Ezra, it's an amazing occurrence that Christians should be aware of.
It is. And it should be a real faith builder. It should be a hope giver, Jonathan, because if God is faithful to keep specific promises he made 2-3 millennia ago, he's faithful to keep the promises he's made to us.
He absolutely is. And we're seeing a faithful God who says, "I will preserve you as a nation before me."
That's right.
And he has.
Jonathan, just to drill in a minute on the first part of Isaiah 11:11 that you read for us, it says, "The Lord will stretch out his hand a second time."
Yeah, that's really
What's
key.
the first time?
And we'll put it up on the screen and highlight this because it's very specific. It's the second time. The first time is God fulfilling his promise to bring the Jewish people back from the Babylonian captivity.
Okay.
They're taken into captivity in 586, exactly 70 years later, as prophesied. A remnant come back under Ezra and Nehemiah, and they rebuild the temple.
Right.
They rebuild Jerusalem. It's that same temple called the Second Temple, because the first one under built by Solomon's destroyed, is beautified by King Herod, and that's the temple Jesus came to.
Wow.
But there are Jewish communities that have yet to return, but that has started. So the second time is the Jewish people coming back to the land in what became the restoration of Israel as a nation in 1948.
A direct fulfillment
A
of
direct
prophecy.
fulfillment. Followed by Jerusalem being reestablished and Jewish communities, aliyahs, returns back to the land from Yemen, from North Africa, including Egypt, all the places that are specifically mentioned, well, not all, but beginning from the North Country. I'll bring you back from the North Country.
So incredible, so much there.
But here's one that is specifically mentioned, Cush. Who's Cush? Where is Cush? Cush is Ethiopia.
Wow.
Ezra, we have actually laid out, I love this, it's a great product. We have laid out on a map, a Lost Tribes map, the migration of Jewish people into other areas of the world, the scattering.
That's right.
And where they've been identified in Africa, in Asia, maybe in Central Europe or parts of Northern Europe, rather. We've laid it all out. Talk about that. This is a beautiful product.
Jonathan, it's one of our most informative offerings, and I know we're on the second or third edition because as these groups emerge and as we identify more and more specifically where they are in the world, we update this map so you at home have the most accurate information. We want to get this into your hands. It's great wherever you do your devotionals, wherever you have your prayer room, put this up on the wall to remember to pray for the Jewish people and to remember God's faithfulness in regathering
We also
us.
have a 12-tribe bracelet.
That's right.
with 12 tribes and a Star of David.
Right.
This
Great
is a
reminder for prayer, for intercession, for the salvation of Israel.
And as there also a coffee table book that we've put together called The Lost Tribes of Israel. Beautiful pictures and descriptions, summaries of the different tribes that we're working with. And many of you are helping us to provide dental care, medical care, eye care, all free of charge. Here's what I want to challenge you to do this week. I want you to become a monthly partner. For $30 a month, you can help us sustain Messianic Jewish congregations, communities of Jewish people in remote areas of the world, and help them grow in their faith, in their relationship with Jesus. That's $30 a month, and we'll get all these things out to you, especially this Lost Tribes of Israel third edition book. It's absolutely fantastic. But we'll also get you the map and all these other things as our way of saying thank you. But I want to challenge some of you. I want to ask you to help us develop centers for children. Yeah. We're working with children. We have child development centers. And I want to ask you to become a monthly partner. For $30 a month, you can sponsor a child every month, one child, to actually attend this child development center and grow. These are accredited schools that are teaching faith-based curriculum, and they're growing in their faith. We've got to invest in the children. $30 a month, you will be supporting a child. You'll sponsor a child. $30 a month, you will be helping to establish one of these centers. This is really a big commitment for some of you. Others of you not. You can do this. It will make a huge difference in the lives of children in the places we work, remote places where there's Jewish people. So monthly partnership or a $300 one-time gift, whatever you can do will make a difference. Welcome to our Lost Tribes Discovery Center. Here we are, Ezra. I love this. Is the Nerve Center.
It is. Jonathan, it's one of my favorite parts of our office here in Phoenix.
Look what's going on. We're getting information flowing through all the time about new discoveries, new lost tribes.
Right. Jonathan, not only are we reaching out, kind of scanning the globe for information on where there may be isolated Jewish communities, but these community elders are reaching out to us as well. Some of them have seen us on TV and say, I heard about you. I know you're looking for our people. I am our people. I am Jewish. It's really amazing.
I think back how all this started, because it's like an Indiana Jones adventure. Mm-hmm. It really is, but instead of looking for the lost ark, we're looking for the lost people of Israel.
Right.
It's not the Ark of the Covenant we're looking for. We're looking for the actual temple, and it's people. It's people. God cares about people.
That's right.
He knows where every single scattered member of the house of Israel is.
That's absolutely.
And I wish we could be going to Paris and Rome, but we're going into the mountains of Ethiopia. We're going into the bush of Zimbabwe.
That's right.
Talk about some of the other places, Ezra.
Jonathan, we're going to Far East India, just on the border of Burma, Myanmar. We've gone there. We've done medical work there in the past with a group called the B'nai Manmasi, B'nai Menashe, who identify historically with the tribe of Manasseh. We're in touch right now with a gentleman. He's actually a believer in Yeshua and identifies as part of the Pashtun tribe, who says that they're historically from Israel. We've gone to South America, we've gone to Central America. Everywhere you could think of on the face of the earth, there are people who say, we know who we are, we've never
Now,
forgotten.
what's everybody doing here? And talk about some of these maps.
Sure.
There's GPS going on. There's maps of Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, India.
Right.
There's epicenters. Tell us
Right,
what's happening.
Jonathan, we not only are looking at nations where there's known and emerging Jewish people group, part of these lost tribes, but actually down to the specific village location. I mean, it's almost like a CIA thing. If you could isolate here, these 3 huts down this dirt road across this river is a Jewish community. And like you said, it's not Indiana Jones, it's better because it's the Lord. There are actual Jewish people living at what to most of us feels like the remotest parts of the world.
We're really racing the clock here, aren't we? Because there's some communities that are experiencing horrific anti-Semitism.
Right. Here's the thing. You know, we all know, at least if we don't, we should, about what happened 70-something years ago in Europe. But I'm sorry to say, but you need to know at home that it's still happening today among Jewish communities. Jonathan, we are seeing attempted and in some cases partially successful persecution and destruction of entire communities just because they say we are Jewish.
I met a guy, and he had scars throughout his body. They threw a hand grenade into his hut.
Right. It's terrible.
He survived. It was miraculous that he survived. Another woman that was burned.
Yeah.
You can see
locked in her hut and burned in northern Ethiopia.
Horrible. You may be thinking Israel, Jews, Israel, but there's Jewish people scattered all over the world. And some of them are living in abject poverty. Others of them are undergoing horrible persecution simply because they know that they're Jews.
That's right.
The people know, their neighbors know they're Jewish.
No, Jonathan, one of the groups that we've been working with month in, month out, really for the last 8 years, is the Lemba community in Zimbabwe. And while they're not persecuted per se, they are certainly isolated and definitely misunderstood, and yet they are a lost tribe that has a very, very specific identity, not just a tribe, but the tribe of Levi, and not just Levite, but actually descendants of Aaron the high priest.
This is an amazing story, and there's actually we can show you the places in Zimbabwe we're working where the Lemba tribe is living, and they don't intermarry.
That's right.
They don't eat anything but meat that is butchered by their butchers according to the Torah, according to the scriptures, but it's by oral tradition.
That's right.
They circumcise their males. There's a whole list of things that they have been doing for how many years?
Hundreds of years, Jonathan. Actually, their oral history is that they left Israel under Ezra and Nehemiah, migrated to Yemen, then over to the east coast of Africa, and eventually down to what's now primarily Zimbabwe, but also in Mozambique, in South Africa, into Zambia in some cases. And so there's tens of thousands of people who, if you ask them, and if you earn their trust, which isn't easily earned, but we have as a ministry, where do you come from? They'll say, they'll nod their head to the north and they'll say, we come from Israel.
And DNA testing has really confirmed the truth that they've known for hundreds of years. Not only are they Jews, but they're descendants of the priesthood, the Aaronic priesthood. And now that DNA has become so available, all this testing has been going on. We've been doing some, and we confirmed. How many did we do? Well, 23 out of 24 tests.
That's right.
They came back positive, not only as that they were Jews, but part of the Aaronic priesthood.
Incredible.
It's been absolutely amazing to see. And why is this important? Because this is the fulfillment of Bible prophecy. In the last days, I will regather the scattered of Israel. It's happening.
Jonathan, one of the things that's interesting about the Lemba is, you know, in Moses' instructions to the children of Israel, God calls out the high priests, the children of Aaron, the Kohanim, and he says, this is a priesthood to me forever. And that destiny is incumbent upon the Lemba to fulfill, though they've been outside Israel, outside the land of Israel for 2,500 years.
That's why we have to proclaim the gospel.
That's right.
That's why we have to help them to disciple their new believers. And we're baptizing so many. We're immersing them. And we're encouraging them in their God-given identity. Some of them will go back to Israel as evangelists, I believe. But evangelism is critical with the shift to their own leadership, and there's now 125 congregations in 8 years.
That's right.
It's remarkable. And one of the things that we want to focus on today, Ezra, is they are building child developmental centers for their kids.
That's right.
They're training their kids. They're teaching their kids. They're educating their kids. They're becoming the head, not the tail. And we want to invest in the children. We want to ask you to invest in the children. There's two ways that you can do that. And it will make a huge difference. One is to become a monthly supporter. We call this Shalom Partner. And it's $30 a month. And for $30 a month, they're sponsoring one child. Right?
That's right. For an entire year's
Yeah.
tuition
So-
for a Jewish child in Zimbabwe.
So $30 a month, you're sustaining their education in a child development center that's led by Jewish believers in Jesus. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Child development, and we're building these.
That's right.
And then for $300, if monthly support is huge, it's critical for the children. You can also give a $300 gift.
That's right, Jonathan. $300 will sustain an early childhood development center, ECDs they're called, in the middle of the Zimbabwean bush, a school for Jewish children for an entire year.
Where can you get-
$300 for a year.
Where can you do that? Anywhere. That is a fantastic investment. It is an investment in children.
That's right.
$30 a month, you sustain a child. $300, a developmental center, a one-time gift of $300 or $30 a month. We're asking for your partnership today. We're talking about blessing Jewish people.
That's right.
I will bless those who bless me. And we want to bless you with some gifts back. We have, I love this, a Jewish Voice exclusive. This is a map of the lost tribes, and it's
Right.
always updated.
Yeah, I've had one in my office for years, Jonathan, tremendously helpful. I'm in Jewish ministry full-time, and I'm constantly referring to this map. We've updated it a couple times, so if you have an older version, this would be a great time to get one of the latest and greatest. It shows every place in the world where there's an
So
identified
you can
Jewish
pray
community.
specifically for Jewish communities in remote places of the world. It's not just Jews living in Israel or
Right.
America or Europe. It's Jewish people living in Africa,
That's
in
right.
Asia, in Afghanistan.
Right.
We don't sell resources at Jewish Voice. We produce and gather resources that will bless you, help you grow in your faith, and in the understanding of the Jewish roots of your faith, and how you can be a blessing to the Jewish people. We're reaching all people, but at Jewish Voice, our call is to the Jew first, and we want you to be part of that. If you'd like more information about our ministry, we'd love to hear from you, and it's very easy. You can log on to our website. It's jewishvoice.tv. One word, jewishvoice.tv, and you'll find many useful resources on the website, and you'll be able to see the impact that your support is having all around the world. In addition, you can send us your prayer requests. We love hearing from you, and I want you to know that we care about you, and we'll pray for your request by name for each and every prayer request. So I want to thank you in advance for your support of Jewish Voice today. Pick up the phone and call. And as we close our program, I want to remind you what God says that each of us should do to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May they prosper who love